Ghost of the Deep is the brand new dungeon, and it's been about a day, which means people that want to do it for the day one experience have done it. It is done. So I'll be going over every tiny thing about this dungeon. I'll be going over encounters and mechanics, every single data fragment so you can increase your chances of getting that brand new exotic, and I will go over all of the secret chests available in this dungeon. So without further ado, let's just get into it. This is going to be a bit of a long video. So when you start the dungeon, you're going to land on the shoreline of the Pacific Arcology. If you head off to the right of the shoreline on top of this rock with a bunch of broken branches, there is a hole you can drop down into that will lead through a tunnel. Go through this area, and next to a bench, you will find the first of our data fragments. There are 12 in total, and this is number 1. Coming out of the cave, go straight up the road to this big door and hive ritual structure. Upon killing the knights, the encounter will start. A bunch of ads are going to spawn, more importantly, this ogre. Once this ogre is killed, it'll leave behind a green trail. If you've played Wrathborn Hunts, you'd be familiar with this, but just follow the trail. It will stop midway through, but just keep going in the general direction that it points you to, and you will find an area with a floating symbol above a certain spot. Remember this symbol. It is important. Create your own callouts for it, or you can use somebody else's callouts, but remember these symbols. They are very important. Under each one of these floating symbols is going to be a bunch of ads that spawn, most importantly these 3 wizards. Killing these wizards will create more trails that will lead you to new locations. After killing 3 or 4 groups of these enemies, you will arrive at the final area for the symbol, being this kind of Lucent hive patch. After killing a bunch more ads, a Lucent hive will spawn. Killing this Lucent hive and crushing a ghost will give you a vestige of light. You want to take this buff to the center of the ritual site, just where you started the encounter, and there will be a new wizard called a Veil Weaver. Upon killing this wizard, you will see that they have dropped a deep sight orb. Interacting with this orb will reveal a bunch of statues and a bunch of symbols on those statues. You want to deposit the symbols that you saw as you were clearing out the enemies and following the path. Depositing at the wrong statue or losing the buff, whether it be by dying or what have you, means you have to run it back all the way from the beginning. So people that have the buff, make sure you don't die, play your life, and make sure you remember what symbol you had. After dunking, you simply repeat the process 4 times and the door will open and you will get your first chest. Making our way through the arcology facility, we will find these kind of tubes that lead into this chasm. Look towards the far wall. There will be some pillars jutting out from the wall. If you jump onto those and you jump onto this open window, you will find the second data fragment that you need. Making your way deeper into the arcology, you will find a new load zone with revival restricted. Up on top of these pillars and to the top near this planter, you will find the 3rd data fragment. Pushing past the hive that spawned and jumping through the big tube in the middle, you'll be descending further into the methane ocean. On your way down, there is going to be this big pillar that has a bunch of floating platforms circling it. This is very important because if you mess this up, you cannot get back without using strand grapples, so be very careful. You want to jump on this topmost floating platform. As it's rotating around the pillar, you will find the next data fragment stuck onto the wall of the pillar. That will be number 4. After we've jumped down these massive drills, there's going to be a place where we can finally get our feet wet. Upon your first dive, there will be a door open in this area that you found yourself in. Go through the door and you'll find the next data fragment. As you make your way deeper into the ocean, you will find these little pockets with fans that will lead you into safe zones. The first safe zone that you find after first diving into the ocean will have a data fragment on this catwalk on the far corner, and that will be number 6. Around the halfway mark, you will find this broken glass leading outside to the wreckage. Take a left instead of dropping down and hug the wall to your left-hand side. There will be a bunch of bubbles, so you don't need to worry about air, and there, sitting there, will be your 7th data fragment. Once you get your feet on the sea floor, make a full 180, and there will be a cave right behind you that will contain number 8 of the data fragments. As you make your way towards the wreckage, you will find your first of 2 chests in this dungeon. It's going to be in this little air pocket to the left of where you drop down the cliff. Do keep in mind that this chest will only contain loot you have previously acquired in the dungeon. So if you've only gotten the SMG, you'll only get the SMG from the chest. Making your way towards the wreckage, you will find a second room with air pockets and enemies inside. Before you enter there, turn to the right and there will be a cave with lily pads and another data fragment waiting for you. Making your way inside of the Lucent Hive ship, you've got quite a long ways to go, but once you reach this room with a massive chasm and flowing water, there will be this tube off to the side that will let you walk in, and there will be a fragment stuck on the other side of the bars. That marks number 10. We are now done with data fragments. We're on to the first boss, Ecthar, the Shield of Savathun. This boss is not only tanky, but he has an immense amount of adds guarding his ass at all times, so heavy ad clear and really heavy damage is recommended. I recommend things like Xenophage simply because he is going to be in your face in damage phases. He is going to be running at you, trying to melee you and shoot you, so things that can't kill you are probably going to be the best. Xenophage, Thunderlord, Sleeper Simulant, anything that can put out damage that will do a lot more to him than it does to you. Classes I would recommend, I would 100% recommend a Hunter for Tether, and I would recommend a Warlock for Well. Well is almost necessary because he will one-shot you most of the time if you don't have direct healing with his super. At the start of the encounter, there will be 3 blistering knights that spawn, one on the left staircase, one on the right staircase, and one at the very top in the middle. Once all 3 blistering knights are killed, an ogre will spawn. Killing that ogre will reveal a deep sight orb in the center of the arena where the boss crawled out of. Once the deep sight orb has been activated, the chains with plates on the wall will light up with symbols. You need to remember these. People that decide to get their feet wet and input the symbols that they found up top will be harassed by Ecthar. Anytime someone goes underwater, Ecthar will teleport down there and go to harass them. Make sure you always know where your pockets of air are so you can repressurize if you do manage to take a hit. All you need to do is find the 3 symbols that you saw up top and input the same symbols you found on the bottom. Every symbol that you activate will spawn a Lucent Hive wizard that once killed and their ghost crushed will give you the same vestige of light that you had at the beginning encounter. All you have to do with these vestiges is bank them on the statues to the left, right, and far back of the room. No shenanigans are involved, no symbols you need to remember. You just bank them, and then once all 3 are banked, you can start to do damage. In the back of the room, there will be a knight called a Well Keeper. Once killed, it will drop an aura on the ground that is required to break Ecthar's shield. Once his shield is broken, unload on him. Let him have everything you got. This boss is really, really tanky, so make sure you bring the biggest guns that you got. As for mechanics, this boss is very simple. The big killer is going to be ad clear. There are an immense amount of ads and Lucent Hive moths, so having proper ad clear tools is near essential for this encounter. Assuming you did all the mechanics and you lit him up real good, he will die. Make sure you crush the ghost because he will revive and you will be very, very pissed. Congratulations, you can grab your loot and move on to the final boss of the dungeon. Once Ecthar has been killed, go underwater and a gated wall with a green door will be now unlocked for you and you can proceed inside. Once you get to this hallway with a big fence to the left of you, stop, go towards the gate, and the calcified fragment will be sitting there for you, just plain in sight. That will be number 11 and only 1 more to go. Once you reach this massive room, on the far end, once you clear through all the ads, there will be a little gazebo. Climbing on top of the roof, this gazebo will reveal the second chest for the dungeon. Moving on down the bridge, there will be a hole where you drop down into where you will encounter the final boss. Now, this is where groups are going to struggle. My group struggled for a good long while before beating this boss. It is a combination of heavy ad clear, multitasking, and memorization. It is a tough feat. Bring all of your A game to this boss. It is not a pushover. Weapons I would recommend being linear fusion rifles and potentially rockets if you can hit them. She is a wizard, so she will fly around and dodge your rockets if you don't predict, so make sure you hit those rockets. Linear fusions I prefer, seeing as she is a very mobile target and likes to keep her distance. Now, in the center of the room, you are going to notice something very obvious if you've played Destiny for at least a little bit longer than most people. This is Oryx's corpse, and Oryx's corpse has certain sections of it, obviously. There's his arms, his legs, his head, his chest. These are all very vital points. Upon starting the encounter, a deep sight orb will spawn in the encounter that once activated will draw a triangle between 3 specific body parts. These body parts will also have a sort of ritual circle surrounding them on the floor. Something you will also notice is that there is a glowing hive knight with a boss health bar. If this knight is killed while standing in one of the ritual circles of Oryx's body, they will activate. Now, once a corpse piece has been activated, the Necromancer will place a ring on the connection. This is kind of a suppression. It won't show you the symbol. It'll only show you a Taken King symbol hovering above the piece that you just activated. To get rid of this ring, you must activate Deep Sight and go into the adjacent piece that is connecting with the line to your piece. Just travel to the separate piece and look through the ring, matching the Taken King symbol and the ring up. This will dissipate them and give you the symbol above the corpse. Repeat this process for all 3 corpse pieces and you will have all 3 symbols that you need to dunk on them. Similar to what we have been doing for the entire dungeon, we are going to be acquiring vestiges and dunking them on the corpse pieces. The way we'll be acquiring our vestiges is through these water doors on each side of the room. Towards the head, the left side, and the right side of the room, there will be these water doors. Walking through and entering this separate room, there will be a Lucent hive waiting for you with a symbol at the top of the room. Remember this symbol, same as before. Once you have killed the Lucent hive and acquired that vestige of that specific hive, you can now dunk it onto the specific body part with the symbol hovering over it. You do need Deep Sight to be able to dunk, and Deep Sight is a very dangerous thing to activate, so make sure the wizard is not shooting at you and there are no ads covering the Deep Sight, because the animation will kill you if you are not careful.
Okay, no, this is...
Oh, no, I died with it because I was activating the Deep Sight. If you have a buff and you go for Deep Sight and you die, guess what? Now you have to go back and grab it again, wasting like 2 or 3 minutes. So it's definitely a setback if you do that. Something we did just to keep the thought off of our minds, we had 2 people grabbing buffs, 1 person basically being the sacrificial lamb, killing ads, and when we needed Deep Sight, they would just dive into it, and if they died, and then we get to dunk. It's just so risky to grab Deep Sight while you have a buff, so this is kind of the way we got around it. Once all buffs have been deposited on all 3 body parts, the damage phase will start immediately. On every piece of the body, there will be a well just like Ecthar that will be used to break the shield of the wizard. To break the shield, I would recommend throwing your supers, your hunters cast their tethers, thunder crashes, anything to get the shield down. Weapons also seem to do less damage to the shields than abilities, so using your supers seems even more potent here as well. Once the shield is down, lay into her. Keep in mind, she will teleport into different sections of the arena. We did damage here in the chest cavity of Oryx, so we can get a visual on every place that she teleports to. She will teleport a lot. So I recommend holding on to those damage supers, holding on to that heavy ammo until she teleports, and then lay into her. Thralls and Acolytes will constantly spawn during this damage phase, so having someone making sure that the Thralls and the Acolytes are dealt with as people are doing damage is pretty essential if you don't have a well. Damage phase will last for around 20-25 seconds. Once that's over, you just repeat from the start, and once you have overcome all of those hurdles, you've successfully completed what I consider to be the hardest dungeon in Destiny 2. But before you orbit, don't you dare, there is one last fragment hidden in the boss room. Upon killing the boss, you must go through the water door near Oryx's head into the area with the Lucent hive. There will be a little cave pocket giving you the final 12th fragment that you need for the triumph, which will increase your exotic drop rate by 5%. And with that, you have completed and gotten every single collectible and chest from the Ghost of the Deep dungeon. Congratulations, I hope you got some really good loot. Maybe even some of you got the exotic. If you guys enjoyed the video or just found it informative, it would make me feel really good if you click that subscribe button or like the video, seeing as it gives me a big dopamine rush and it makes me feel real good. Also, make sure to leave a comment on what you think of this new dungeon. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What parts scared the shit out of you? Oh, that night part definitely scared the shit out of me. But yeah, that'll be all for me. Like, subscribe, go watch my other stuff, and have a good rest of your day. Bye.